Bonjour tout le monde, welcome back to We in France. Today's video is going to touch on a topic that you and I both love, which is cultural differences between the US and France. So to that end, let's talk about even more US things that you won't find in France, or at least not on the same level. So let's get into it. Number one, vanity license plates. Now, if you spend any time driving in the US, you've probably seen someone with a vanity license plate on their vehicle out on the road somewhere. They are issued by every single one of the 50 US states, as well as the District of Columbia. Now, there are two kinds of personalized plates, these vanity plates. The first is where you can choose a combination of letters and numbers on your license plate to spell out things like a word, a name, an abbreviation, and this is usually limited to 6 or 7 characters, depending on the state. Now, that second kind that I want to talk about, this is a themed license plate. So this theme would represent something that maybe you support or you believe in, that you're a fan of. They do vary by state, but things that are popular are university names, mascots, wildlife from your state, maybe a military designation, a sports team, specialty interest affiliation, and that sort of thing. Now, some people combine these two types, for example, the Miami Dolphins logo, and then custom text like Best Dad or Boy Mom. And to give you an example, the state of Florida, where my family now lives, they have over 100 options for these specialty-themed license plates. And just to give you a sense of scale, in 2007, the American Association of Motor Vehicle Administrators, the AAMVA, that's a mouthful, put out a state-by-state survey which found that there are nearly 10 million vehicles in the U.S. with vanity plates of some sort. Now, the state of Virginia takes the cake for having the highest number of vanity plates at a whopping 16% of its total license plates, and coming in with the fewest number of vanity plates at 0.5% is Texas, according to this survey. Now, as you'd expect, sales of vanity plates are often a significant source of revenue for state licensing agencies and any specific cause the specialty plate supports. But that said, these vanity plates are not super expensive. Now, in my home state of New Jersey, a personalized plate, it's just a one-time fee of $50, but that does vary by state, and some of the special interest plates, they are more expensive. And that's always on top of your regular vehicle registration fees that you pay just to register a regular old car. Now, turning to France, you will not find anything like this. No vanity plates. You cannot choose what letters or numbers appear on your license plate, and in French, this is called la plaque d'immatriculation. And they are randomly assigned, so there's no vanity plate option for your department or anything like that, either for the characters or for a theme. They all look the same. Now, the only thing you can choose, there is one little thing. It's the little square department number that's on every license plate in France and that corresponding regional logo. They go hand in hand. So even if you live in one department, like we do, we live in the Maine-et-Loire, which is department 49, we could technically choose to have our license plate display another department number and that corresponding regional logo for whatever reason. You aren't obligated to match up your license plate department number, that little square, with where you actually live, but no vanity plates. Okay, number 2, TV shows always start on the hour or the half hour. So in the US, if you watch some TV, you probably have noticed that it is quite normal for most TV shows and movies on primetime network TV, even things like HBO, to start on the hour or the half hour mark. So say a 7 p.m. show, a 7:30 show. Now in France, that's not always the case. There are TV shows and programs that start on that hour or that half hour. But it's also common for shows to begin, say, at 55 minutes past the hour, or 9:15, or even at some seemingly random time like 9:47. It's just a little different, not always on that half hour or hour mark. All right, number 3, political bumper stickers. Now, political bumper stickers on cars and political lawn signs, these are things that you'll see regularly in the US. Of course, it depends on where you live, but these aren't unknown things. People freely display their political affiliation either via their car's bumper sticker or on their lawn signs for their neighbors to see. And this is often more widespread during election season when candidates are campaigning. And sometimes they're as simple as just saying the candidate's name and the election year. And sometimes you'll even see jokes or insults that contain profanity or less than classy imagery, let's say that. Now, I'm not saying by any means that every American publicly displays who they're voting for, because that would not be accurate. But it's a normal thing to see bumper stickers and lawn signs that have something to do with one's political affiliation. And to be clear, not everyone goes the joke or insult route. Now, turning to France, people seem to make their political affiliations less publicly known. You're not going to see political bumper stickers on cars in France. They're really not a thing. And bumper stickers, for the record, they seem to be less common overall. Most people in France, they're definitely not clued into who their neighbors are voting for by their lawn or their car decor. What you will see are baby on board stickers, bébé à bord, and ones for the Corsica ferries and that sort of thing. But you would very rarely, if ever, see a Macron, France's president, a Macron sticker, or any type of lawn sign showing your support or distaste of a political candidate. Now, I can't say that they don't exist anywhere, but in my decade in France, I've never seen a single solitary political lawn sign or bumper sticker on someone's private property. Okay, number 4, phone numbers with letters in them. Now, something that I'm sure you've seen in the US, it's very popular with TV advertising, radio advertising, is the use of vanity phone numbers. So what they do is the phone numbers will contain letters, and the letters often spell out the company name, maybe an abbreviation, a catchy phrase, and that's used for an ad campaign. And if you aren't familiar with this, basically each number on your phone's keypad, it corresponds to several letters. So if you wanted to call a number that had an A in this advertising, you'd hit 2, for example, and so on through the alphabet. And as a kid, I still, years later, remember the number and the jingle for, I think it was like a bedding company, a mattress company. It was 1-800-MATTRES, something like that. Leave off the last S for savings. So these things are catchy. They're easy to remember. Another one I think is 1-800-GOT-JUNK. So you type the GOTJUNK into your phone. There are lots of them. You could tell me below in the comments which ones have stuck with you over the years. And companies use them because they're easy to remember. You know, they stick with you, clearly. Now, to contrast that with France, phone numbers do not contain letters here. Not for marketing, nothing. You're not going to see companies using a catchy phone number jingle on TV. You're not going to hear it on the radio. It's just something that doesn't exist. All right, number 5, the color khaki. Now, as someone who's grown up in the US, I'd hear the word khaki mainly when people were referring to khaki pants. Like, let's go buy a new pair of khakis for back to school, or, for work, khakis, khaki pants. And khaki always referred to a beige color, a creamy, kind of light brown, not cream, not quite brown, but in between, a beige, right? Khaki. But in France, khaki is more of an army green. And I remember this has led to a few misunderstandings over the years when I've heard people here in France talk about getting a khaki jacket or referring to a paint color, like at the paint store, as khaki. And I thought I was like colorblind or something, since I would always see like an olive or military green and not beige. And, I looked into this and of course my eyes are fine. But in France, khaki is not beige. A pair of khaki pants, they're going to be army green. All right, number 6, skunks, as in the animal, skunks, yes. Now, I told you before, I personally had never seen a hedgehog up close and personal until I moved to France, since they aren't native to North America, other than Sonic on video games. I had never seen the actual animal, but something that works the opposite way for French people is a skunk. Most French people, they haven't smelled that pungent skunk odor, and they definitely haven't seen a skunk in person in France. Now, most adults, they know of the cartoon character Pepe Le Pew that's been around since I believe like 1945. They call it Pepe Le Putois. But the real-life animal is not found in France. And I even asked a few French people what the animal is called, and kids who obviously weren't around in 1945 show them a picture of the actual animal, the skunk, and they've either not known what it is in the case of the kids, or they've called it a putois, which isn't exactly wrong, but it translates to a polecat. I don't even know what that is, not a skunk. The French word is une moufette, but it's not a commonly known word for reasons that I explained. They're not native here. All right, number 7, cartons of egg whites at the supermarket. Now, most Americans, we're pretty familiar with the egg substitute egg beaters, and likewise the ability to buy cartons of just egg whites, without the yolks in the refrigerated section of pretty much any supermarket. Both are pretty normal. And these things are great for people with high cholesterol, these healthier options. They're easy to find, they're convenient. Or maybe you just want to add some protein, just the whites, to your omelet without the yolk for breakfast. And egg whites, they're also great for recipes. And it sure beats wasting a yolk when only the egg whites are needed. So there's a need for this, right? But in France, egg whites are not available in cartons at the grocery store. And I've never seen egg substitutes like egg beaters. Now, for the record, you can absolutely find bottles of egg whites on bodybuilder websites, like fitness websites. You'll find like protein bars and that sort of thing. Or you'll find large quantities at restaurant supply stores for restaurant professionals. But egg whites for just the regular everyday person at the grocery store, they are not available. All right, number 8, extensive coffee creamer selection. Now, sticking with food for a second, let's talk about coffee creamer. And truth be told, every time I go back to the US, the selection of coffee creamer amazes me. I'll put up a picture I took right here last time I was at Publix in Florida. And I'm always in awe of all the flavors and options in general, including non-dairy ones, because none of that exists in France. Now, you can flavor your coffee in the US with like low-fat dairy options. What else do we have? Like almond milk, other nut milk creamers. This time of year, we start seeing pumpkin spice creamer and like 50 other choices in the US. And for coffee lovers, it's great, and there's also lots of cold brew. Now, in France, the selection of coffee creamer and cold brew is very limited. You're really not going to find half and half or anything specifically for coffee in the refrigerated section. Now, by the unrefrigerated milk, there's a brand called Gloria, I think they say it in French, Gloria, that makes individual creamer packs that come in sheets of about 10, like the little individual coffee mates. And you'll, of course, find all kinds of heavy cream and milk, but actual creamer for coffee, and then especially things like dairy or nut milk varieties or specialty flavor, they don't exist. This is not mainstream coffee creamer varieties. But the French do drink coffee, I will say that. And you can definitely forget about any fun seasonal flavors like eggnog or pumpkin spice. And for more cultural comparisons like this, if you enjoyed this video, I'm going to link to some other videos I've done here on my channel down in the description box that you might also find interesting, because we've talked about cultural differences a lot here over the years. And as a reminder, if you've made it this far, I'm just pointing out some differences between the US and France. As I always say, this is by no means a judgment. I'm not saying that one place is inherently better across the board or worse, or that one country should be like the other and have these things. Definitely not. I want to be clear about that. I'm just pointing out the differences and trying to provide a little education here on my channel so that 1, you're more prepared for your trip to France, and 2, just so you can learn about how things are done in other areas of the world. So yeah, that's just my point of view. That's where I'm coming from. And yeah, if you want to learn even more, definitely check out my e-guide, also linked below. It's called 75 Beginner France Travel Tips for a Standout Trip. I'd love for you to check that out and learn all my tips, things like going out to eat, the language, money, and a lot more. I also have a free newsletter, also linked below, that you could sign up for if you want to stay up to date with all things we in France. And with that, I'll leave it here for today. Thank you so much for being here, everyone. And see you back on We in France soon. Salut!